You ever have one of those moments where the universe lines everything up just to test what you're really made of? Yeah, that was me, 5:57 a.m., standing barefoot in nothing but boxer shorts on the front porch of the ranch my granddad built with his own two hands, steam curling off my coffee, while three Williamson County Sheriff cruisers rolled up my gravel drive like I owed somebody money. Red and blue lights painting the live oaks crimson, radios crackling, deputies stepping out slow, hands resting on holsters. And me, I just leaned against the cedar post Granddad said in 1953 and smiled the kind of smile you only get when you realize the storm you've been waiting for finally showed up. See, Karen Whitlock, president of the Golden Meadows Estates HOA, thought this was checkmate. She thought the $24,000 in bullshit fines she'd been slapping on me for months, the city inspectors she'd been weaponizing, the anonymous calls that had my insurance breathing down my neck. She thought all of it had finally broken the stubborn rancher who dared to keep horses and a '64 John Deere on land that had been in my family since before her precious subdivision was even a gleam in some developer's eye. What Karen didn't know was that I, Cole Brennan, retired U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, 20 years of turning chaos into order in places most people can't pronounce, had been waiting for this exact morning. Because the second those cruisers surrounded my house, I stopped being the victim and the real game began. Let me take you back to how this whole war started. My spread is 52 acres of rolling Central Texas heaven, Brennan Ridge Ranch, unincorporated county land, no deed restrictions, no covenants, no HOA, never has been, never will be. My granddad bought it in 1951, built the limestone fences with his own hands, dug the stock tanks, planted the post oaks that shade my driveway today. After 2 tours in Iraq, a divorce that gutted me, and 20 years of military life, all I wanted was quiet mornings with the smell of cedar and horse sweat, the sound of red-winged blackbirds, and the feel of honest dirt under my boots. I started a little land-clearing outfit, Brennan Dirt Works, nothing fancy, just me, a Caterpillar backhoe, and a reputation for showing up on time and doing the job right. That's when Karen Whitlock rolled into my life like a California wildfire with a designer handbag. 58, blonde bob sharper than a bayonet, driving a spotless white Mercedes GLE that probably never saw mud. Karen had blown in from Orange County 5 years earlier, married a mid-level city planner, and crowned herself the aesthetic overlord of Golden Meadows Estates, the subdivision that popped up a quarter-mile east of my fence line in the late 80s. She ran that HOA like her own private kingdom, 8 years unopposed, because nobody else wanted the poison that came with the crown. First love letter from the Queen arrived on a Thursday. Gorgeous cream envelope, gold foil seal. Looked like a wedding invitation. Turned out to be a $200 fine for unsightly agricultural implements. Complete with glossy photos of my granddad's 1964 tractor, the same machine that still starts on the second crank and has more soul than every vinyl-sided McMansion in her zip code. I called, polite as Sunday morning. Ma'am, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. My ranch isn't in Golden Meadows. Click. She hung up on me. That's when I knew reasonable wasn't on the menu. A week later, fine number 2, $3,000 this time, for unauthorized livestock presence. Pictures of my Mares Dixie, Scout, and Willow grazing in the same pasture their great-granddam grazed in the Eisenhower administration. Fine number 3, the 1954 barn Granddad and I rebuilt together when I was 12, suddenly structurally unsound. Fine number 4, my little Brennan Dirt Works sign, hand-painted, been there 3 years, now commercial signage in a residential zone. And every morning at 7:15, every evening at 6:03, that white Mercedes would ghost past my gate, windows cracked, phone up, Karen snapping photos like the paparazzi had gone suburban. One dawn I caught her in Lucchese boots that cost more than my saddle, measuring my fence with a neon tape, marking my oaks with survey ribbon like she was annexing Poland. I could have lawyered up day one, could have gone loud, but the Corps taught me something tyrants never learn: never interrupt your enemy while they're making mistakes. So I smiled, waved, and started building the kind of case that ends careers. I drove to the county clerk, pulled every plat map, every deed, every survey since 1950. Turned out Golden Meadows Estates plat explicitly excluded my parcel. My land predates their covenants by 36 years. In legal terms, Karen had exactly as much authority over my ranch as she did over the surface of Mars. I called her again, folder in hand, ready to end the nonsense. I have the original surveys right here, Mrs. Whitlock. I don't care what some dusty papers say, Mr. Brennan. This neighborhood has standards. Click. Again. 2 mornings later, I walked out to feed and found bright orange survey stakes hammered into my soil, red ribbon fluttering like war flags, my ancient oaks bleeding neon spray paint, a new boundary line that magically swallowed 5 acres of my ranch into her kingdom. I didn't get mad. I got curious. Because my divorce had left me paranoid enough to install cameras, good ones, 4K, night vision, motion-triggered, cloud backup. And there she was, 5:42 a.m., white Mercedes, Karen in yoga pants and fury, swinging a framing hammer like she was staking a vampire. I pulled every stake, bagged them as evidence, left the paint on the trees, wanted to see how far crazy could climb. Answer: all the way to felony. 3 days later, my phone rings. Mr. Brennan, Deputy Martinez, we've had a complaint about destruction of official survey markers on HOA property. I smiled so wide my cheeks hurt. Deputy, bring coffee. You're going to want to see this. 30 minutes later, Deputy Martinez is watching 4K footage of the HOA president committing trespass and fraud before most folks have had their first sip. He looks at the Home Depot stakes in my shop, looks at the county plat excluding my land, shakes his head. Son of a bitch. You're the victim here, Mr. Brennan. As he's leaving, he grins. My cousin needs a pond dug. You still in business? I laugh. Tell him to call. Apparently, I'm not allowed to own equipment anymore. But Karen wasn't done. Suddenly, city inspectors are crawling my place like ants on honey, septic, fire, environmental, code enforcement, every department getting anonymous tips. Funny thing, my permits were tighter than a drum. Every inspector left scratching his head. One even told me off record. That Golden Meadows lady calls us 3 times a week. We're starting to keep a file. Then my insurance carrier calls, dropping me for hazardous operations based on, you guessed it, anonymous complaints. Without insurance, I can't work. Without work, I can't pay property taxes. Without taxes, I lose the ranch. That was the moment the rage went cold, calculated, beautiful. I built spreadsheets like I used to build bridges in Fallujah. FOIA requests, financial records. Because here's the thing most people don't know. HOA books are public records. Any member can demand them, and they have to comply. What I found made my jaw hit the floor. $178,000 paid to 3 consulting companies: KW Landscape Solutions, KW Security Partners, KW Administrative Services, all registered to the same pretty little address on Whitlock Lane. Karen had been paying herself 6 figures a year to manage the HOA she was already doing for free. But I wanted more than evidence. I wanted her to feel invincible right up until the moment the floor dropped out. I recruited allies. Lynn Park, the HOA treasurer, 63, soft-spoken, terrified, but brave as hell, started smuggling me documents in baking tins like we were in a spy movie. My old Army buddy Ryan Delgado, now a civil rights attorney in Austin, started salivating when I showed him the pattern: Hispanic families, single moms, Vietnam vets, anyone who didn't fit Karen's country club aesthetic getting crushed under fake violations. My nephew Ethan, fresh out of cybersecurity school, turned my ranch into a digital fortress. Every camera, every plate reader, every text Karen sent, archived, encrypted, bulletproof. We watched her spiral. Sabotaging my excavator at 3 a.m., sugar in the fuel, hydraulic lines slashed, $9,000 damage, caught in glorious infrared. Trying to bribe my insurance agent to cancel me permanently, recorded. Impersonating a sheriff's deputy to terrify my daughter at college, traced to her home landline. Sending a posse of polo shirt goons to my porch to discuss compliance, while my cameras rolled and sirens closed in. Every move she made just tightened the noose she didn't even know was around her neck. The annual Golden Meadows HOA meeting, biggest turnout in history, community center packed, local news in the back row, Deputy Martinez leaning against the wall like the angel of justice decided to wear a badge that night. Karen struts in, power suit, perfect hair, briefcase full of fresh lies, ready to declare martial law over imaginary threats. Lynn stands up for the treasurer's report, voice shaking but steady, starts projecting bank statements, shell companies, $178,000 gone, all pointing to the queen herself. The room goes dead silent, then erupts. Karen screaming about conspiracy, character assassination, outside agitators. That's when I stood up. I walked to the front slow, boots echoing on tile, every eye on me. The rancher they'd only heard horror stories about. Evening, folks. Name's Cole Brennan. I own the 52 acres your president has been trying to steal for the last 8 months. I laid it all out, calm, methodical, the trespass, the sabotage, the embezzlement, the intimidation, the terror campaign against minorities and veterans, while Deputy Martinez held up stills from the videos like evidence in a war crimes trial. When I got to the part about Karen calling my daughter pretending to be law enforcement, my voice finally cracked, just for a second, because some lines you don't cross, ever. The room turned on her like a pack of wolves that just realized the shepherd was the predator all along. Deputy Martinez stepped forward, cuffs gleaming under fluorescent lights. Karen Whitlock, you are under arrest for felony theft, criminal mischief, conspiracy, filing false reports, impersonation of an officer. She screamed all the way out. You've ruined everything. I looked her dead in the eye. No, ma'am. You did that yourself the first time you decided other people's rights were suggestions. 6 months later, she took a plea, for years in state prison, $534,000 in restitution, triple damages under Texas theft law. Her husband divorced her, lost his city job. The white Mercedes sold at auction to pay back the neighbors she robbed. Lynn Park is president now. Books online, every dime accounted for. Harassment complaints require public hearings. The HOA actually serves the people again. Me? I married Sarah Walsh. The single mom Karen tried to destroy. Her boy calls me the stepdad who took down Goliath with a spreadsheet and a smile. We turned part of the ranch into the Golden Meadows community makerspace. Veterans teach welding. Kids learn engines. We fix more in a weekend than most shops do in a month. Some nights I sit on the same porch where the cruisers surrounded me, coffee going cold, watching the sun bleed out over the same hills my granddad watched, and I think about how close I came to losing it all to one entitled bully with a clipboard. So here's the question I want to leave burning in your chest tonight. When someone abuses power wrapped in the flag of community standards, when they weaponize the very systems meant to protect us, is it justice to destroy them completely? Or does mercy have a place even when they showed none? I know where I land, but I want to hear where you land. Drop your story in the comments, your wins, your wars still raging, because this fight isn't over. It's just getting started, and the next ranch, the next veteran, the next single mom might be you. See you in the next one. And remember, good fences make good neighbors, but brave neighbors make free ones.